ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It's Wednesday, June 3rd edition of the program. We continue on into June. ECU baseball season coming to an end over the weekend. We talked about that. We'll get more perspective on that when we're joined by James Giglio here shortly, Hoist the Colors intern. And also with the conclusion of the season, the opening of the transfer portal happened on Monday, June 1st. We've seen some names trickle out. Of course, the process, you'll always say goodbye before you say hello to some newcomers later in the transfer portal process. So we go through this every offseason. This year, no different. We'll get into some of those names that are already in the portal, and then I'll share some news on who could be joining them as well here in segment one. We'll also take a look at some of the super regional action across the country and talk about the matchups we're looking forward to seeing. ECU obviously out of it, but some other compelling matchups. And Pirate football gets a huge commitment for the 2027 class. Quarterback James Perrone out of Florida. We'll tell you all about him at some point during today's show, too. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. If you got a question, a comment, concern, drop it in the chat. We'll get to it. I do want to let everybody know we are running a 60% off special on hoistthecolors.net right now with the transfer portal open for baseball. I posted my latest VIP article, 3 Things I Know, 3 Things I Think, on the offseason ahead for ECU baseball, where I talked about a number of topics that are critical to ECU getting back to competing for regional host and not just making the tournament on the final week or two of the season. So a lot of thoughts there. Check it out online, 60% off if you're not already subscribed. All right, today's crew, we've got Philip Pilkington. He is back in the 94.3 The Game studios as always, and we've got James Giglio live from his home as well. James, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I wanted to note one thing. We should thank Bass Pro because I have somehow not been scheduled on a Wednesday at noon in any of the last 3 weeks, and that is the reason I am here today.
Yeah, every week I text you just waiting for you to say that Bass Pro Shops has you locked up in the noon hour on Wednesday, and I don't know what we're going to do when that happens, James, because this has become a staple, and we just need you to make it through June without that happening. Can you do that?
I'm hoping it does happen. I really don't know how it hasn't happened yet because I pretty much get scheduled. My shift is usually like 11 to 7 every single weekday, but I didn't even get scheduled today. I'm not even working today. But I even set up my class schedule for next semester so that I wouldn't have like the noon slot on Wednesdays worked up. So this is my signature spot.
I'm just hoping it happens one day and we can do it live from the Bass Pro Shop break room, James Giglio.
That would be something.
Let's do that. That would be a ton of fun. Get some behind-the-scenes look at Bass Pro Shops. All right, gentlemen, we'll get James's take on the season here in segment 2. But let's start with the portal, the big news. And, gosh, we already got a request, James, so get ready for segment 2. John Moody's in the chat. He says, I want to hear James's take on the season as a whole. Don't hold back. So stay tuned for segment 2, John Moody. And we'll see if we get not negative James, but like real James or positive James. He did say recently he was going to go with the positive route. We'll see what happens there. But the big news, guys, the transfer portal, East Carolina. I got sent a screenshot from our folks at 24/7 Sports this morning with the official names in the portal from East Carolina University. Those are Blade Carver, backup catcher, who hardly played at all this year. Jackson DiLorenzo, sophomore reliever, who obviously had an up-and-down time at ECU. Carlos Hakame, who dealt with an injury this year, unfortunate situation. Didn't really get a full-time shot to play, but was a promising player coming in, played well at USF. We can get into his story a little bit, but ended up not really playing down the stretch due to injury and some inconsistent performance. Michael Kalinic, the big one. We'll talk more about that later. Matt Lashley, the shortstop, of course, we kind of spoke on yesterday. And Dawson Neal, left-handed pitcher, who made, I believe, one appearance this season. So we'll kind of start with the big names here. I do want to add, look, Austin Irby is not in the portal. I am hearing most likely he will be entering the portal and his time at ECU is up, but that is not official yet. But that just is what I'm hearing as of last night, as of this morning. So I would expect ECU to look for a new first baseman or develop one from within. So we can get into that in a minute. But the big news is Kalinic. I think he's your biggest loss here, guys. He finished the season on an absolute heater. Now, I will be honest, and I think Kalinic does have a bat that plays at multiple levels, but this does remind me a lot of how Austin Irby finished his freshman season. Like, he went from batting 240, 250 to 300 plus. He was a freshman All-American, basically with just a hot May and NCAA tournament. Kalinic kind of did the same thing, and I think this is a sign of what could potentially come, but I don't think this is maybe the biggest loss in the world, definitely not from a defensive perspective. Obviously, you would like to have him back, James, from an offensive perspective. He'd be a great DH, great left-handed bat, but your thoughts on Michael Kalinic leaving the program?
Yeah, I was literally getting ready to say he reminded me a lot of that Irby stint from last year, and if he followed in Irby steps that much, he would be not good next year. So I don't really know what you would make of that, but he's definitely a loss in the sense of you do want that bat, and ECU as a program, that is something that they've been missing the last couple of years is streaky, not missing, but that's something that they need is consistent hitting and streaky hitting and power hitting, and that's something he's brought in the last couple of weeks and last month. So definitely the biggest loss here. And even if Irby transfers, I still think Kalinic is a bigger loss than him.
Kalinic, 323 average, finished with an OPS over 1,000. Now just 99 at bats, but man, 7 home runs, 8 doubles. He finished near the top of your team lead, 4th in home runs, Phillip, in basically half the at bats of the regulars. So. Look, I do have questions about him hitting velocity if he transfers up. Now, he did turn around a few fastballs in the regional that were 94 plus, which I was impressed with. But I'm curious where he lands. I know he's getting some pretty big interest. The numbers would, lead you to that. But I don't know. I wonder about the fit here for Kalinic for his next stop.
And the tough thing too, Steven, is the defensive side of things. And I know we haven't really hit on that yet, but if he goes up to a level where he wasn't throwing base runners out at a consistent enough rate in the American, why would he transfer up to go and even play less behind the dish? The whole point, from what we understand, of him wanting to transfer is so that he can start at more than just a DH role. If he wants to start at more than just a DH role, he needs to go down. He could very easily go down, be a meh to average catcher in his conference, and still contend for Conference Player of the Year if he is constantly seeing pitching in the low 90s and is getting to play every single day. I think this guy could go out there and rake. I think he could hit 20 home runs in a low mid-major league, and I think he could be a very vital piece to a team's potential conference tournament run and potential shot at going to the NCAA tournament. But at the end of the day, if he wants to leave so that he can get more playing time behind the dish, he needs to go down, up, or even lateral is not going to be a wise decision because it is going to put him in the exact same situation or a worse situation that he was in 2026.
I agree. I mean, I think he could transfer up and play in DH for someone, but if he was to catch, which is what I heard, I heard this 2 weeks before the regular season came to an end. So this was what I expected, and I don't blame him. Look, I mean, if he wants to be a catcher and maximize his professional opportunities, he needs to go catch, and he needs to prove he can catch. You're not going to get drafted as a DH unless you're, Big Papi or Barry Bonds, and Kalinic is good, but he's not that good with the bat. So, he's got to prove he can catch, and this is kind of his year to do it, draft-eligible season. So, I get it from his perspective. And for ECU, it's a loss, but you can find a DH. There's a lot of players on this roster who are coming back that I think can hit for power that will develop, and I think you can always find a guy who can swing it in the portal and hit you 10 home runs. Of course, I say that ECU struggled to hit 10 home runs last year, but I just think it's much easier to replace a DH type than go get a center fielder or a shortstop or something like that.
Give me Braxton Trammell, baby.
I would take Braxton Trammell in the lineup tomorrow for sure. So Michael Kalinic, moving on, and Argue Ready says, I wish Mike would stay and learn first base if Irby leaves. But Yeah, I mean, could that be a possibility? Yeah, but I think
like
he
that.
wants to catch, and I don't think he'll be back either way. All right, I did want to correct myself. I misspoke. I said Jackson DiLorenzo, sophomore. He's actually a junior. Was his third year at ECU, so he's entering the portal as well. Dawson Neal. To be honest, I do applaud D'Lo for sticking out at ECU for 3 years because it was a struggle the last 2 years, especially sophomore year, Phillip. And I think he wanted to come back and just whether it be confidence, whether it be, just stuff was just okay. It just never really seemed to get back to what it was his freshman year. And I think this is a good fresh start for D'Lo. Like Dawson Neal, I don't think was going to pitch here at all next year. So these are more like just roster moves, and these guys need a fresh start too. Same thing with Blade Carver as well. Like none of those things surprise me.
It doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I wish D'Lo could have gotten back to it, but honestly, with how many guys were injured on the mound, the fact that he still was not going out there just lets you know that the staff didn't have a lot of faith in him. So it'd be good for him to hit the reset button. As for Dawson Neal, this is a guy who came up from the JUCO ranks. Is that correct, Stephen?
Yes, JUCO ranks, Brunswick.
Yeah, came up from Brunswick, and he was. I feel like he had good stuff, and we were pretty high on him. But it was just one of those where he didn't pan out. I just think the command wasn't there, and unfortunately didn't, wasn't able to prove himself at this level. But I think both these guys can transfer down, and when I say down, I don't mean down to the D2 level, but probably just down in conference affiliation. Go to a middle of the pack school in the CAA or something like that, and probably be a regularly used arm weekend in and weekend out. Maybe a guy who's part of your Sunday staff day.
The other one that not a surprise at all, James Hakame. You're talking about a guy who he had an OPS near 900 last year at South Florida. He hit over 300. He comes to ECU, same conference. This year starts 16 games, 29 appearances, bats .215 with a 680 OPS. Just never really got a chance. And then the second half of the year, from my understanding, dealt with a wrist or hand injury, and that limited his ability to swing the bat. I think he only swung the bat one time in April, or at least I know his last at-bat was at Duke or against Duke in one of those midweek games. So James Hakame, this is another one that makes sense for both sides. Like, it just good player coming in. I like the fit when they added him. It just didn't work out for whatever reason, partly because I think Braden was going to play more outfield. Then Whitaker emerged. You also had some other guys come along, and that moved Burris back to second, which took Hakame's spot. So you had some things in motion there. It didn't necessarily go Hakame's way.
Yeah, you're right. This is a move that works for both sides, but this is also a puzzling one with Hakame because, like you said, him and you also, even Lashley, these are guys that dealt with injuries, but these are also two guys, especially Hakame, that I think were highlighted as one of their bigger transfer pickups, especially coming from South Florida in the conference, and he just didn't really ever get a chance. Like, I don't really know what it was very puzzling to be his situation all year, because it did feel like there were times when you could use a guy like Carlos Hakame, especially in that infield on defense, but never really got a chance. So I don't know if there was anything internally that we never knew about, but this was definitely one of the weirder situations, I think, with a player, only because he was highlighted so much and coming into the year as one of their bigger transfer pickups. So I don't know. It definitely works both ways, though.
And again, not officially in the portal, guys, but we'll go ahead and talk about it just on this show. Austin Irby, from my understanding, expected to enter the portal, expected to move on. I was hearing originally he wanted to come back, and I just think there were some tough conversations. I wrote yesterday, look, if ECU runs it back with this core, there has to be some conversations about, how do we change things to get better with this core? And I think part of that is looking at some of the guys who obviously didn't produce at the level you expected this past season, but also maybe you need to shake up the core at least somewhat. And I think Irby is an unfortunate side effect of that. I like Austin a lot. I like what he brings to the table, plays a good glove at first base, and he doesn't really chase out of the strike zone. He makes good swing decisions, but for whatever reason, just kind of lost some of the thump in his bat. Obviously, got pull happy at times. You look at his freshman year, he was a freshman All-American, 10 doubles, 12 homers, 50 RBI, a 303 average, and OPS, guys, of well over 900. And then this year, OPS under 700, that's on-base plus slugging from your first baseman. Just the 5 homers, 7 doubles, 241 average. I don't know if it was mental, partly physical, James. It was just kind of like he could never get on a hot streak at any point during the season. And maybe it's just best for both parties to start fresh here too.
Yeah, I think looking at it from like an ECU program perspective, I think running it back bigger picture wise with this core, if bringing back Austin Herbie, who's part of the core, has been here the last 2 years, right? He regressed, right? I think it was something mental, like you just mentioned down the stretch. I think maybe he started a little bit, maybe he changed his mechanic early in the year, and then he just couldn't really get back to what he had last season. And I think as the season went on, he just never got that hot streak like he did at the end of 2025. I think maybe he started getting his own head a little bit and, start to question himself. But I think this is best for both sides, because if you bring back Austin Irby and a lot of these other guys from this core, I think you're setting yourself up with a ceiling that is the regional, that is just losing in the regional finale to whoever the top seed of the regional is. So I think this definitely works for both sides. Austin Irby can go, maybe get a change of scenery, fix his mental game and on the baseball side, and then ECU can also move on, because I just didn't think it worked this year with him.
Yeah, and the lack of power at the corner spots, Philip. I mean, we talked about that. I can't remember if it was on this show yesterday, but the 6 combined home runs from your first and third baseman, they had to figure out some solution, whether it was improving the productivity with the same players or just coming up with a different plan.
Yeah, and obviously these guys have had 2 different hitting coaches or 2 different years, and probably extremely different mindsets too out of those hitting coaches. But I think which could be a little tough just adapting to it. We talked about it really in depth with Wallace yesterday, so I'm not going to restate what we said. But as for Irby, Steven, I think it comes down a lot to they probably said you can come back, but you were our highest paid position player last year. Yeah, that ain't happening. And sometimes I think that is just an automatic transfer in the world we live in. We will have you back, but we will pay you less money. It's code for the guy who's there of, hey, I don't want to come back here. I want to go get the same money I got somewhere else. Or it's almost like a sense of pride thing of like, I'm not worth that much money. At least let me go somewhere else. I don't know. But I mean, we can't pay him whatever we paid him. I've heard many different numbers. I don't know what is true. But from what we understand, the only guy paid more than him was Ethan Norby. And, whatever it was, he's just not worth it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, last year he was getting allegedly calls from LSU, and he finished on the heater, 300-plus average, All-American freshman. And this year, you wonder what his market will be. Now, I think with his track record, he'll get a fair opportunity. And I still think Austin Irby can be a really good college baseball player. I hope he has success at his next stop. And, it wouldn't shock me if he goes to, Old Dominion and hits 3 home runs against ECU or something next season. Or somebody in the American Conference. That just feels like the most ECU thing ever. But I don't know. I'm pulling for him. I do think he went through some tough things this year and, got to know his family a little bit. So I'm pulling for him. But it's one of those things I just don't. I think it may be best for everybody to just kind of start fresh and start anew. So a question here from Pirate Mitch. Just curious, not sure how the rules work. Will we be able to add a pitcher in place of Sean Jenkins being out for surgery? They should be able to designate him as a medical redshirt, and therefore he will not count against the roster limit going into the season. So, yeah, he can be with the program and not count against the limit once the season gets here, as far as the regular season limit. So just to answer that question. All right, if there's any more news that breaks from the portal, we'll have that during the show. We'll continue to react to that. I've got my guys at 24/7 Sports watching the portal, also some other sources that know plenty of what's going on as well. So if we hear anything, we'll let you know. Otherwise, we'll get a break in. We'll come back. We'll get James's take on the ECU baseball season. That's next, plus some super regional discussion as well.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arrgh!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
The hatches are battened down.
Shiver me timber.
Our timbers are shivered. And the colors are hoisted.
Hoist the colors!
Back to Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in segment 2 here. Hoist the colors on a Wednesday recap of the season. That was for ECU Baseball. Also had a transfer portal update in segment 1. We've got James Giglio, Hoist the Colors intern. He covered some of the Chapel Hill Regional. We also have Philip Hilkinen doing his thing. Interns hanging out as well, putting up some social media clips. James, let's get to it. Look, Philip and I have talked plenty about the ECU baseball season. I'll give you the floor now. How do you look back at the season, the regional, anything you want to say about the 2026 Pirates?
Okay, so I'll start with my takeaway from the year. It's pretty basic. And then I want to ask y'all a big picture question that I have an answer on. But I'll start with this. The 2026 season, we'll look back and I think a lot of people look back and say, okay, this team was injured. This team dealt with a lot of injuries, specifically bullpen wise, pitching staff wise. And that kind of felt like it derailed the season, right? I feel like they did lose three of their top 5 arms did not play at the end of the year, didn't play in the most important part of the season. And I think we'll look back and say that this team was injured, and that was the reason for what I think was a disappointing baseball season. Yes, they won the conference championship. Yes, they won the regular season title, whatever you want to call it, second place, because it was UTSA who had the tiebreaker. So my big picture question is to y'all, looking back now at the last 4 years, this program has not made a super regional in the last 4 seasons. This program has only hosted a regional one time in the last 4 seasons, and that was as a 16 seed in what was a controversial year. So my big picture question to y'all is, well, has this program peaked under Cliff Godwin? And was that 2022 season against Texas, that super regional where they came oh so close to going to Omaha, was that it? Was that the year? And do you guys think there's ever a chance under Cliff Godwin they can get back to that point? I talked about this with my dad and Joe Ovius. I personally think with the transfer portal and NIL evolving that I don't know if that they will. And then I just want to hear what you'll have to say about that.
All right, I'll go first here. I'll let Philip go. We've talked a little bit about this in the past. I think it's a valid question, James, but I think the days of ECU being consistently top 20, top 16, like year in and year out, I think those are going to be very hard to repeat. So has the program peaked in terms of that consistency of dominance? I think probably yes. Now, I do think they can kind of do what they're doing now, maybe even to a higher degree, in terms of consistently making the NCAA tournament. Hopefully not by the edge of their seats every year, like we've seen the last 2 years having to do it in Clearwater. But I think once they learn how to navigate this portal, this NIL, the rev share era a little better, which to me, talking with people, I feel like they have a better grasp of it now than they did 2-3 years ago. I think they're going to be in a better position to compete. But it is just very hard to hang on to A, premier talent, and B, the guys who aren't playing that would develop, like a Davin Whitaker, like a Connor Norby, like guys of past years more consistently. You lose more of those guys who aren't willing to hang around and develop the hard way. So I just feel like the fabric of the program has always been built on that, and obviously you get some special talents in between, and that combination led to that dominance from 2018 through really 2022, where they were hosting in a top 15 seed, top 16 seed every year. So I don't know if you'll be able to do it year in and year out, James, and maybe that means, yes, they have peaked, but that doesn't mean that they can't still host every now and then, and they can't still make a run to Omaha as a 2 or 3 seed, or when they do host. So I still feel like the program's still in great hands with Cliff Godwin. I just think it's going to be a little different. And I think it's that way nationally. LSU, Vanderbilt, both missed a regional this year. LSU won the national championship last year. I just think it's so hard to sustain consistent success, and reaching 7 straight regional finals at least is about as consistent as you can get in this era in many ways. So, Philip, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, guys, I'm going to kind of take it from the big picture side of things. So you asked, have they peaked under Cliff Godwin? I think they've peaked, but it's not they've peaked under Cliff Godwin. It goes down to what you were talking about, Stephen, with the era of college athletics and the era specifically of college baseball. I don't think it's one of those, well, if you got rid of Cliff and brought in a better coach, then you'd be right back to where you were. No. Guys, Tennessee went 0-2. Tennessee won a national championship 2 years ago. Like you said, LSU didn't make the tournament. South Carolina didn't make the tournament. Vanderbilt didn't make the tournament. There's only one team in all of college baseball that have won 2 postseason games each of the last 7 years. It's East Carolina. So, yes, the peak has happened, but I wonder if everybody's peak has happened. I wonder if consistency is gone. I think college athletics has kind of been ruined. Now, if we get to the one-time transfer and the 5 years of eligibility and all that gets passed, I think we regroup and have this conversation again 3 years, 4 years after that has been implemented, and maybe you can get back to that because guys can't just leave your program at will. But, guys, no disrespect to anybody who's in the starting lineup, but Bristol Carter was supposed to be your leadoff hitter if there's no portal. And there's countless other guys, too. You got to think you would have had another year of Zach Root if there was no portal. So that's kind of the thing where I just don't know if anybody's going to play consistent baseball. I think we do need to get back to where I do think we can get consistent where we're not just sneaking into the tournament. I think we can get back, and we will get back to where we're feeling good, with a month left of the season about being in, and you're hosting every once in a while. But I think we will be kind of what Coastal is right now, where they've been every year lately. They haven't really been a bubble team. They have hosted. And I think that's kind of the ceiling, really, for anybody, man. Even the SEC schools, now when they host, they're going to host maybe at a more consistent rate, but they're going to pass the baton as to who hosts every year. It's not going to be, just look at it this year. Was it Arkansas was on the road and Lawrence? We already mentioned the teams who missed. It's just not sustainable anymore.
Anything to add to those thoughts, James?
Well, yeah, I think it's just a fair question. I didn't want to. I'm glad I asked y'all on the air because it was a nice raw reaction there. But I think it is a valid question because it's a 4-year sample size, but I do agree with y'all's points that it's really all over the place with college athletics in general. And you just don't know. I'm not saying anything about Cliff Godwin, needing to leave or anything like that. I'm not saying anything. I'm just curious just now with the new, it's just a new era. And I think we have a big enough sample size that you can ask the question is, should we maybe lower our expectations going into seasons? And I don't know. That's just really my main takeaway just on the season, this season specifically, and really the last 4 years. And I just wanted to ask y'all because y'all would have a better takeaway than I do because I've only been around Greenville and ECU for 3 years now, or baseball at least.
Go ahead, Steven.
Go ahead, Phil.
Okay.
You said you want to say something. You go.
Okay.
You go.
I think, James, it's not wrong to have the expectations in specific seasons that you've had in the past. You will have rosters that you feel like, hey, this team should be a legit host, should contend for a national seed. But I think the expectations should lower from the fact of like, hey, every year that should be the expectation. Like I think every year should be more specific to the year in front of you based off what you have. And some of those years should still be that way. I think Cliff Godwin's a good enough coach and a good enough recruiter to make certain years that way, but to expect it to be that way every year is not realistic because it's not realistic anywhere in the country. That's how I view it.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. Like you can't, and even like you, I guess like during that run, ECU was hosting every year, so people expected to host every year. But you got to remember that means you're a guaranteed top 16 team in America. Like that's just very tough to do year in and year out. That means you're having elite talent, injury, fortune in terms of you're not having guys hurt all the time. And at times too, the American was stronger during that run as well.
Yeah,
you had a better conference, and therefore your RPI would be elevated. So. Like all that stuff, and just, I look back as Sweep Cannon points out in the comments, we've retained our studs better than most programs at our level. He points out Jenkins, Burris, Linehan, Savage, et cetera. How many guys have we actually had just chase the bag? And he says just Zach Root. Like, I agree with that too, but you've also lost guys like, Connor Rasmussen, who ended up being an all-conference player at Tulane, Bradley Zayak, who ended up being a really good pitcher for Liberty this year. Like that. 5-6 years ago, those guys coming off freshman years probably come back and end up being like your core, and instead they left, and now they're really good players elsewhere. So I just think it's hard to sustain that success because you're losing guys at the top some years like a Root, or you're losing guys at the bottom that would be your next, and it makes it tough to fill in those gaps. So good discussion, though, and I just think it's going to be – look, even now, looking at next year's roster, like there's a chance they're really good. But a lot of that is based on injury and how they're impacted by the draft. That's the other thing with baseball is like they've got guys coming in and guys are projected back. Like Towers wants to come back, but if he gets drafted, he's going to leave. Like that's a set weekend starter that you could count on next year, but you don't really know right now because of the draft. So there's just a lot of variables in baseball, man. I don't know how these coaches do it, honestly.
Yeah, we'll wait till they do the 5 years of eligibility and you'll be able to get drafted 3 times instead of just 2. That's going to throw a big kink in things. That's going to be a whole show when that gets passed. We're going to have to break down how it affects each sport.
It's crazy, man. Well, I'll tell you what, let's get our second break in. Good discussion there. We'll talk about super regionals we're looking forward to, and then I got to share some news about the quarterback commit, James Perrone, as well, that committed. So we'll hit those things after this.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef, brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
In Eastern North Carolina, people appreciate things that are straightforward, honest, and dependable. For decades, our team has focused on cutting through insurance complexity for the communities we serve. And now, we're bringing that same mindset to our name. We're Flatlands Insurance Group, a simpler name that reflects the same local team, the same values, and the same commitment to the great communities we feel blessed to be a part of. Flatlands Insurance Group, your whole world is covered.
Make every day electric on the Kawasaki Electro 20 electric balance bike. Maximize the fun with long run times, impressive top speed, and Kawasaki build quality. Easy adjustability and smooth handling make everyday riding more enjoyable. And the standard MTB type tires provide off-pavement capability. The Kawasaki Electro 20 is the electric balance bike that's built to rip. Go to Ron Ayers Motorsports, Memorial Drive north of the airport, Greenville.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, Newbern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's.
Well, that's enough of that. Back to Hoist the Colors with Steve Nigo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Another segment here on Hoist the Colors, segment 3. Some news out there that Kevin Schnall, although not official, Alan Smothers of 96.3 and ESPN Radio in Florence reporting that Schnall will be announced as South Carolina head coach later today. So keep an eye on that. It seems to be trending the Coastal Carolina baseball coach heading to South Carolina, not official. I was reading some South Carolina boards in the break. Some insiders that I trust say it's not quite done yet. That I trust maybe more so than the guys reporting this, but we'll see. That would be pretty seismic news. Has been rumored a while, but obviously rumored and taking the job, James, a little different there. But if he goes to South Carolina, I think they would be pretty good quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy, especially in-state move, and I feel like it just shows you the day and age, and we just had kind of this big picture discussion, but it shows you the day and age in college athletics that Coastal, even if you get to, the college baseball championship series, that it's not good enough to keep your coach, and the SEC is always going to be calling.
Does Palumbo go to Coastal?
I've heard they might hire Lamonis, former Mississippi State head coach, and then I'm guessing he would hire Gautreaux.
Yeah.
To be his top assistant, but that's just all being discussed. So Schnall from Coastal to South Carolina, he's a Coastal alum. Would that be like Cliff leaving for North Carolina, or is it different?
Cliff leaving for NC State, I think, would have been similar.
Yeah.
Oh,
the tough thing is, I think Coastal wasn't even playing FBS football like 10 years ago. I mean, this would almost be like if App, I feel like, had the success that ECU had, and App's coach was an alum and he left. Like, they don't like those schools either, but they were viewed as such a lower level for so long. Maybe the hatred's not quite what it is here because we didn't used to hang with them in the 90s. Like, the trial schools didn't know App existed 10 years ago.
No,
that is
not
true.
10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago.
Okay, 20 years ago. But the same thing with Coastal, and the big two there.
Coastal baseball won the national championship though in 2016 or whatever for baseball.
They did. I just don't think they've got the hatred of the big schools. I mean, I don't know. I'm not from there. I don't know.
Lamonis, by the way, is from Myrtle Beach and played at the Citadel, so that would be your connection. He won a natty at Mississippi State, so that would be a seemingly easy fit there. As Kenny asked, who would go to Coastal? All right, guys, super regional action. This is the field. Cal Poly is at West Virginia. Little Rock is at Troy. And in either the most compelling super regional or the worst super regional, I can't decide which one. North Carolina hosting Southern Cal. Ole Miss going to Auburn, all SEC, super there. Oklahoma is at Kansas. That should be a great atmosphere. Yeah. St. John's is at Alabama. Oregon goes to Texas, and Georgia hosts Mississippi State. What do you think, James? What intrigues you from this list?
I mean, this is definitely a wild bracket. I'm looking at it now. Has there ever been a year when the top two teams did not make it to like both of them lose? I can't. I mean, that's crazy to me. The one that, I mean, definitely Troy, Little Rock. I mean, it has to be up for discussion. Both, smaller or lower level schools having a chance to go to Omaha. I mean, Troy hosting a super regional. I mean, you can't ask for much more than that. And then, I mean, Chapel Hill and USC, just seeing what, I guess, for maybe the ECU perspective, what they could have matched up against. But my pick still to win it all, or they weren't my pick to win it all, but my pick now is still UNC to, I mean, a lot can happen in baseball, but my pick is them to win the national championship, just, I mean, based on their top level talent pitching wise. So I'll pick them to win. I'm still riding with them to win the national championship. But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of these are intriguing matchups for sure.
North Carolina, I think, is now the betting favorite to win the champion. Also, if you look ahead, again, it's baseball, anything can happen, but they would have an easy bracket in Omaha because they would, obviously, if they were to win, they would advance. They would have to play the winner of Ole Miss Auburn, which would be tough in the first round, but they would get on their side of the bracket the winner of Little Rock, Troy, and the winner of Cal Poly, West Virginia. So I feel like it's set up perfectly for the Tar Heels. And look, credit them, man. The group of death regional they ran through, of course, to help ECU took Tennessee out. What do you think, Philip? What intrigues you here?
So first off, Parker Eason, appreciate the text here. 1 and 2 both last year did not make a super regional. Texas was eliminated by UTSA. Vandy was eliminated by Louisville last year. So thanks, Parker. For me, originally going into this, when I made my bracket, the one I was most intrigued by was Oregon and Texas. Now, I thought there was going to be a lot more chalk other places. Therefore, I don't know if that's the intriguing one now. It depends on how you want to answer the question, right? Like, do you want to answer is what's going to be the most electric? Well, it's going to be old Big 12 rivals going against each other in Lawrence, or it's going to be two SEC teams matched up, which we see twice here. But what's the most intriguing from an aspect of stuff we don't see every day? It's watching Troy play against who is it? I don't remember who they played.
Little Rock.
Little Rock. That's it. I about said Cal Poly. Cal Poly was the other 4 that came out. They're going to Morgantown. So, I think what's the fun thing about this one is there's a storyline in all 8, and actually the most bland storyline of them all actually might be the one that I originally mentioned, being the Oregon and Texas Super Regional there in Austin. Other than that, there's some sort of storyline, whether it's old rivals, current conference rivals, or a team that shouldn't be there. So this is really intriguing. You just hope it's good baseball.
There is a scenario, gentlemen, and you don't really have to squint that hard to see it, where you could have one of Little Rock and Troy, Cal Poly, and St. John's all in Omaha. Like, I mean, St. John's winning at Alabama wouldn't shock me. And, I mean, West Virginia will probably win, but they're not a juggernaut.
No.
By the way, Country Roads post-game was incredible the other night. But I'm kind of rooting for that chaos. I am excited to see, what does the Troy crowd look like? Does Troy have baseball fans? I would assume they have enough to pack a stadium for a super regional, but, like, that's – I don't know. I've never watched Troy baseball.
I have.
So
I've watched 3 Troy baseball games in my life. Friday of Keith LeClaire Classic, Saturday of Keith LeClaire Classic, Sunday of Keith LeClaire Classic.
Yeah, I don't remember too many Troy fans walking around Greenville for that. Maybe a few parents. So yeah, we'll keep you abreast on the information the next few days. Super Regionals get underway this weekend, and we'll make some picks. Maybe Friday's show or Thursday. The big news on the recruiting front, we'll hit this for a break. ECU gets its first 2027 commit, James Perrone out of St. Thomas Aquinas. Now, last year played for a different high school, made the move to St. Thomas Aquinas from the Miami area originally, one of the best quarterbacks in the state of Florida. Ranked the 39th best quarterback nationally, ranked the 66th best player in Florida. And Florida absolutely stacked with talent, so that's like he'd be a top 15 player in North Carolina probably rankings-wise. Offers from Memphis, USF. He was committed to USF at one time. Maryland, Pittsburgh, UCF, Wake Forest, West Virginia, App State, many others. He camped Sunday, guys, at ECU. ECU had a big mega camp with a bunch of schools here. He came, crushed it from what I heard, got the offer, and went ahead and committed. He told our reporter at 24/7 Sports, quote, "It was the coaches, without a doubt, who wouldn't want to play for the OC that had the number one offense in college football last year. Also, after meeting with Coach Davis and seeing his vision for me in this offense and then seeing how Coach Harrell wins big games, I already loved the school, but that was it for me." So he will take an official visit later this month, but he is committed. Now ECU's got to get him signed. But just big picture here, guys, I watched the film this morning. Not only can he spin it, I would call him a pass-first quarterback, but a really good athlete. I'd classify him as a pretty good dual-threat quarterback. But more than anything, this is like the first legit quarterback commit out of high school ECU has gotten in a long time. And I'm not saying he's going to come in and win the starting job in 2027, James, but like they just needed to upgrade the recruiting in the quarterback room and got to get him signed. But I really like this news.
Yeah, this is a tremendous get in my opinion, from Blake Harrell and Jordan Davis. I mean, like you said, the ECU had definitely had trouble in the past recruiting quarterbacks specifically out of high school and nailing that position. I mean, there's no other words besides this guy. I think is not definitely, but in my prediction, he's going to be the starter in 2027, just based on the pageantry that you mentioned. I mean, he to me seems already better than Cole Hodge and Trey Burke. So I'm really excited for this kid going into 2027, and ECU seems like they nailed this one.
I just know the folks, Philip, that I talked to over at ECU, very excited. They said in camp, he crushed it. I think they were surprised he committed this quickly, but also, I mean, thrilled at the same time.
I mean, how many times does East Carolina get a kid from St. Thomas Aquinas? Like, kids like that are supposed to go to Alabama, right? So that's huge. Look, we talked about it pre-show. The last quarterback that ECU hit on out of high school was Holton. The last big name they had was Mason Garcia, and that didn't plan out well at all. So it's been since Holton graduated high school, 2018?
Yep.
2019, something like that. Like, I think I'm only a year or two older than Holton. Like, shows you how long it's been since they've really hit on a kid coming out of high school. Like you said, you got to get him signed, but this is just a big news for ECU.
And this is a discussion for another day, but if there's one high school position outside of like an offensive tackle that I would offer NIL money to, it'd be quarterback. So I'm not saying break the bank for a high school quarterback, but I would at least give him something to assure he signs. So that could be a discussion for another day if some other schools come calling as well. All right, we got to get a break in. We'll talk more recruiting throughout June. ECU set to host some big official visit weekends. Not this coming weekend, but the next weekend and the week after that. So there'll be a ton of recruiting news on the way. But we got to touch on the NHL playoffs. Carolina Hurricanes lose a tough one last night to kick off the Stanley Cup. So we'll get into that. Also, maybe hit some NBA, MLB as well. This is Hoist the Colors.
The power of savings is yours at Greenville Toyota with powerful deals on our huge selection of new Toyotas, like a Camry, $229 a month, or the all-new RAV4, $279. Don't miss the power of savings at Greenville Toyota.
In Eastern North Carolina, hard work matters, and it always has. At Flatlands Insurance Group, we've been showing up for our neighbors since 1963, helping families and business owners navigate change, weather tough seasons, and keep moving forward. Decades later, our purpose hasn't changed: to help protect what you've poured your time and energy to, from your home to your health to whatever comes next. Flatlands Insurance Group, your whole world covered.
Need cash for a vacation? National Finance Company is here to help. For over 50 years, National Finance Company has been the small loan specialist with loans from $1,000 to $5,000 with low payments to meet your budget. We're in the business of getting you the cash you need today. Apply online for a loan at one of our convenient branch offices and get your money as fast as today. It's easy. Get the vacation cash you need. For extra cash, visit nfcmoney.com.
Your future is full of possibilities, and Pitt Community College can help you explore every option. You can earn a degree, learn a trade, transfer to a university, or launch a new career. We offer the support you need to succeed with flexible schedules, affordable tuition, and programs designed for the real world. Your path, your future, your college. Pitt Community College. Register now.
Visit Larry's Steakhouse for a tender, hand-cut certified Angus ribeye. Other entrees include perfectly seasoned pork chops, chicken or seafood favorites like shrimp, tuna, and salmon. Complement your meal with Larry's fresh 20-plus item salad bar, or enjoy it as an all-you-can-eat entree. Daily rotating favorites include meatloaf, chicken pastry, hamburger steak, spaghetti, pork chops, and more, all complemented with your favorite country sides. Whether it's for lunch, dinner, or our Sunday brunch, remember to support and eat local. Larry's Steakhouse.
The hunting and fishing event of the summer comes to the Greenville Convention Center, July 11th and 12th, bringing together the best hunting and fishing vendors, outfitters, and fishing experts, all under one roof. Special free events, including a mountain trout pond, indoor archery range, offshore fishing experience, interactive duck blind, and free seminars. Don't miss it. The Mid-Atlantic Hunting and Fishing Expo is July 11th and 12th.
With new Toyota trucks from $259 a month, you've got the power of savings at Greenville Toyota. Drive Tacoma's $259 a month or Tundra's only $399 a month at Greenville Toyota, where our volume saves you money.
Everything you need to know in the world of ECU athletics. This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in. Hoist the Colors. Final few minutes here. James, Giglio, Philip Pilkington with us. And we are going to wrap up the show talking some professional sports. A lot of ECU talk, as to be expected. But tough loss for the Hurricanes last night. They got out to a 2-0 lead, and then that came crashing down. It was honestly an exciting game to watch, just all overall. But as a non-Hurricanes fan myself, I enjoyed the drama, but for the Canes fans, I feel bad. They lose 5-4. Series is obviously far from over. I still like Carolina in this series, but to drop game one on your home ice after getting off to a great start, Philip, is not the best sign. The good news is they did, suffer a similar fate to Montreal in the opener of the last series, so hopefully they can bounce back.
I think they will. I think the big thing is when Vegas got the puck beyond the goal line, they were allowing a lot of passes into the slot. Because they play that man defense, whoever was originally smashed up the guy in the slot was helping beyond the goal line. Nobody was filling his spot because they don't play a zone. And so it was leaving that guy open. They need to fill that and then just, hey, if you beat us with getting it out to the defense and going point to point, cool, but you can't allow that. That was their kind of their kryptonite last night. I trust Rod to make the adjustments. I still like the Canes.
James, you still like the Canes? And have you secured a ticket yet for the finals?
I have not secured a ticket yet. No, I'm still working on it, but I do still like the Canes. I predicted them originally in 6. I still like it, even though last night I think was a blow. It's really every series. If you lose your game 1 at home, game 2 becomes must win. So Thursday's a must win.
Gotta find a way to bounce back. NBA finals get underway tonight. Knicks at Spurs. Typically when it gets to the finals for me, unless my team's in it, I'm kind of like just over the NBA. But this year I will be watching. You obviously have the Madison Square Garden factor when the Knicks play at home, but also just the Wemby factor. I think this is a fascinating matchup because I think the Knicks also have the size to match up with Wemby to some degree. And this is a fascinating series to me, James. Who you got?
I have Spurs in 6. I think Wemby gets ring number 1 at 22, and he's well on his way to maybe be in the GOAT. This is the first step, I think. Maybe needs a couple MVPs under. Way too early, but this is definitely the first stepping stone. He's going to need a couple MVPs under his belt. But, this is definitely the most intriguing finals matchup, at least since 2017, when LeBron and Golden State were facing off for the third time. And it's the Knicks, the Madison Square Garden field, Wemby, the best player in the world. I'm super excited to watch this finals.
Yeah, I'm pumped up as well. It's going to be great. We're getting Joey Hoops on the PJ show today to talk about his Knicks.
All right, so Mitchell Robinson is questionable with a broken pinky. Come on now, he's got to play. This is the NBA Finals. Even if he can't score, he's the one dude who can actually kind of match up with Wemby. He's got to go, right? along with
No,
Towns.
yeah, I was gonna say, if you a broken pinky, like if that's keeping you out of the finals, then this isn't for you. Because I mean that's nothing. And he's like you said, he doesn't have to score. He's just the rebounder, and you just got to match up on Wemby. So I mean, it's not like he's going out there and he's got to put up 10 and 10, right?
Yeah, and too, when he does score, he's around the hoop. It's not like he's a jump shooter. It's different if a jump shooter's got a broken finger.
Last thing, guys, do y'all know who the hottest team in Major League Baseball is?
I'm guessing the Seattle Mariners.
That is correct. 8 wins in a row. 8 wins in a row. The Mariners are back. James, how are your Yankees doing?
They're not doing horrible. I haven't done a standings check in a while. I'm actually going to do it right now, just quickly as a raw reaction. I still believe Tampa's in first place, though. Yeah, they are.
By 1 game.
Yeah. I haven't checked the standings in a while. I've just been keeping up with New York, and they lost yesterday. They got destroyed by Cleveland. Yeah, I think it was Cleveland. But, I mean, it's early June. I'm still waiting for the Yankees, slump to settle in here in a little bit.
And just in case you're wondering, dead last in the AL East, Phillips Boston.
Hey, best batting average since May 1st. The problem is we score 17 runs one day and 0 the next. They gotta be more consistent.
Sounds like a team we know all too well, ECU baseball. Luckily, that season over. We'll talk more MLB as well throughout June. We got to get out of here. James, appreciate you. Philip, appreciate you. Thanks to everybody in the comments section. We'll be back Thursday, 12 noon, talking Alabama ECU with Mike Rodak, who covers the Crimson Tide.